Hey guys, happy Wednesday, right? Yeah, Wednesday. It is currently Tuesday and it is so windy out. I feel like I'm going to be like blown out of my house or something like that. So hopefully we make it through the whole video. Um, I'll read real quick and then go over what you're going to be doing on Wednesday. It's a little bit different, so make sure that you're watching the whole video so I can kind of explain in more detail what we're doing. Okay, so we left off in the middle of chapter 1 from Good Dog, and so we will pick up where we left off and read till the end of chapter 1. We're on page 7 and we're reading up to page 13, so a few more pages to go. Okay? Perfect, it's a fun spot. Before you died, Sasha said, her voice softer than puppy fur. Before you died there and came here. She wiggled closer to him so that their paws were touching. You're dead, Brody. Dead. He knew it. Pictures flashed in his mind. A squirrel, still and stiff, its eyes dull and open, laying in brown leaves. A bird, its body broken, wings crooked and crushed. A cat on the side of the road, mouth open but silent, its neck twisted. Dead. Brody knew dead. His breath came fast. His ears went down flat. He whined, high and begging. Sasha scooted even closer, nuzzling at his neck. But it's okay, Brody. Really it is, because dying there just means being alive here. And here is wonderful. There? Dying there? Yes, don't you remember? Don't you remember the world? The people with night and the world with night and hunger and people? Don't you remember people, Brody? People. He did remember. Two-legged tall, the bringers of the food. Fingers scratching behind his ears. Petting and praising and scolding. Faces and hands and shoes and smiles and mouths making sounds. Sounds that Brody now knew were words. People. Remembering them made his stomach twist and his tail wag at the same time. People. People were good. People were bad. People were terrible. People were wonderful. He remembered all those things at once, and they were all true. Flashes of memory, dim and blurry and dark and confused, blinked and disappeared in his mind. Voices. Smells. Brody jumped to his feet. He turned in a circle. He whined and scratched at the ground, took a few steps, turned and came back. It's all right, Brody, Sasha said, standing up and pressing her shoulder against his. You can remember later. There's nothing to be afraid of. Not ever again. Let's run. Let's play. Come on. She turned and trotted off, looking back over her shoulder for him to follow. But Brody didn't follow her, and she came back to where he stood. He was almost remembering, but the remembering didn't feel right. It didn't feel easy. And then, in pieces and bits and little broken half-pictures, some memories broke through. A house with tall grass and falling down fence and a car in the driveway that never moved. A park. A room with curtains. And in those splinters half-memories, there was happy and there was sad and there was scared, all tangled and tied up together. But it wasn't clear. And right behind it all, lurking just beyond where he could see, was one growling monster of memory. He could feel it. It had teeth and claws in the shadow, and Brody whined just from feeling it. But he couldn't see it. Brody? He closed his eyes, reaching and searching for more memories of that other world. Something clear and strong. Something to explain the pain in his chest and the desperate urgency that made the hair on his neck stand straight. Like a fight was coming and he was in it. It was important. Somehow, deeply, Brody knew that. Remembering it was almost absolutely the most important thing in the world. There was something he needed to remember more than he'd never ever needed anything. And then he did. A new word came to him. Boy. And then, my boy. And with the words came the memory of a face he could see smiling, and crying, and angry, and sleeping, and flinching, and pulling in close to kiss his own. And then a voice laughing. And then a smell of skin and sweat and clothes and soap and food and boyness that all added up to one beautiful, perfect boy. My boy. Something tickled at the very edges of his thoughts. An echo of a memory of something he did with that boy and he loved. A going away and a coming back. Away and back. Those words came to Brody, but also their meaning, their feeling. Brody held on to the words strong, not letting go, chasing the memory behind him. And then, like a splash of water, the memory was there. It flooded his mind, soaked his soul in feeling. Sunlight, but fading sideways end of the day sunlight. He was running, paws drumming on the dirt and grass, away from his boy, and then back, away and back. The boy was throwing something. Round, yellow, fuzzy. A ball. It was slobbery and warm from his mouth, standing gritty from the muddy grass. He sprinted after it. He dropped the ball at his boy's feet for the 100th time, his tongue hanging out through his exhausted panting. The boy was smiling his wide smile that Brody knew and Brody loved. At the edge of the park, a streetlight buzzed on. The boy looked up and eyed the darkening skies, the coming night. His smile faltered. "It's time to go home, Brody," he said. He looked again at the growing darkness and then back over his shoulder. Back toward the home they would return to. He swallowed and Brody saw his Adam's apple bob. He looked back to Brody and propped a smile up into his face. It wasn't as wide as before. "Nah," he said, shaking his head. "Let's do a few more throws, okay, Brody?" Brody had wagged in agreement. The boy had picked up the ball. He looked over his shoulder and then back to Brody. That smile was just for Brody. "Just a little longer, boy." And then he reared back and threw the ball, and Brody rocketed after it. And his boy, the sad, serious boy standing in the shadow, had cheered him on. "Go, Brody, go! Go, Brody, go!" Brody's legs had churned as fast as he could make them. He was pure determination. He was love with legs. He would chase that ball his boy had thrown. He would catch it and he would bring it back. Brody had flown, away and back. Brody stood, tingling and breathless with the memory of his boy, of being with his boy. But now Brody was away from his boy, far away. The distance and separation pulled at him like a tugged leash, calling him back. And when Brody remembered him, when he remembered his boy, that darker monster of memory growled louder and bigger, and coldness of its shadows made his whole body shiver. Danger. The word stabbed into him. Then need. And then help. Across the gulf, between whatever world he was in and the other world that he could barely remember, he could taste and smell and feel the words, boy and need and help and danger. He opened his eyes. His tail was still, but his body shook, because his heart was telling him exactly what he needed to do. And Brody is one of those wonderful souls who, when his heart told him to do something, he did it. Yes, he was. Brody looked at Sasha, and he said in that desperate, crazy, urgent truth that quivered alive in his hero's heart, "I have to go back to my boy." And that's the end of that chapter. I know it's a little bit confusing, but I promise this next chapter will clear things up a little bit, so just hang in there. All right, so if you've not done today's check-in, please make sure that you're going to do that. I like seeing people's questions of the day, so the one from yesterday was either flying or reading people's minds. Most people chose reading people's minds, which is the opposite of what I would choose. I would rather fly. I think it'd be really, really cool to fly places. So what you're going to do today is you're going to do your exact path, your 10 to 15 minutes of exact path. You're going to read for 20 to 25 minutes. And then we're going to use a new website that I know some of you guys used in 4th grade, but we have not used it in 5th grade. And it's going to be, Scholastic News. Okay, and I know some of you guys have read the Scholastic News magazines when I had them in class, but they have a really, really, really cool online program that we're going to start. So in one of the links in today's Google Classroom and on the weekly calendar, there is a link to how to log on to Scholastic News. So just follow that. It walks you through every single step. It tells you the password, and it even tells you what article you need to find. So once you enter the password, which is already written down on that login paper, you're going to scroll to the March 30th issue. So when you come up, it's going to say current issue. You want to go find the one that says March 30th. It's called Lost Treasure. Okay, and you want to read that Lost Treasure article. Okay, and then the exit ticket for today is going to be 4 questions, and it's going to be what you're going to do while you're kind of reading the article. So you're going to first look at the pictures, and you're going to read the title, which is Lost Treasure. And you're going to number 1 on the exit ticket. So what I would do is I would have 2 tabs open on my computer, and I know you guys all know how to do that. So I'd have 2 tabs open. I'd have one that is the article on Scholastic News, and I'd have the second one that is your exit ticket, because you're going to do them together. Okay, and then the other thing that's going to be linked, sorry, I'm like all over the place. This other thing that's going to be linked is an anchor chart that kind of just shows you the format of all these questions. So if you want to look at that too, you don't have to though. It's what I'm talking about. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to write down your questions. Okay, so step 1 and question 1 on the exit ticket is you're going to write down your questions. So what do you think this article is going to be about? What do you, asking questions about what you want to know about this article. So maybe you want to know what it's going to be about. Maybe you want to know where the lost treasure is. Maybe you want to know what this picture means. You're going to write down any questions that you have about the article. And yes, you need to have at least 2 questions. Okay, don't just say I have no questions. Okay, write down at least 2. Okay, then you're going to read the article. So read the whole entire thing. It's only a page and a half basically if you factor out the pictures. So it's not that much. Okay, and then you're going to tell me what the text is about. So what did that article teach you? What is it telling you about? Okay, so anything that article is telling you about. That's question 2. Question 3 is you're going to answer your own questions. So number 1, you wrote down those questions. Number 3, you're going to write down the answers for them. So say, for example, in number 1, I said, what is this picture about? Okay, then in number 3, after reading the article, I hopefully know what the picture is about. So I'm going to answer that question. Okay, and then the last one, number 4, the most important one, is now what is the main idea of that article? So Monday and Tuesday, you guys learned what main idea, or relearned what main idea is. Now you're going to tell me what the main idea of this article is. Okay, the main idea should not be more than a sentence. So you're not going to write this paragraph about the main idea. You should say the main idea of the article is blah, 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 whatever the main idea is. Okay, so again, you're going to do those 4 questions while you're doing, you want to have your one tab open for the article and your second tab open for the exit ticket, and you're going to kind of do them together. Okay? As always, please email me if you have any questions. We can set up a Zoom or do something like that if you just want to check in real quick. I know a couple of you guys have been doing really, really quick Zoom meetings with just to answer your questions. That's a little bit easier than emailing, so if you want to just do that, that way I can kind of walk you through it with it. That's super awesome, but I can also just email to whatever you guys need. Okay, have an awesome day today. Make sure you're doing all your assignments for both language arts and math, and I will see you all on Thursday. See ya.